Hi, guys. Welcome to the Highly Strange Days Radio. I'm Amy. Tonight, we delve into the chilling case of the Memphis 3, also known as the Robin Hood Hills tragedy. Three innocent young boys were brutally unalived by three local teenagers in the area. These teenagers were convicted but later released on an Alford plea, thanks to the support of influential Hollywood figures. One of these teenagers is Damien Echols, who claims to have used magic to survive during his death row time. Tonight, we will explore Damien's use of magic during his harrowing days on death row. We will also examine the question of his innocence or guilt. Many have been swayed by the Hollywood narrative of misunderstood goth boys in the Bible Belt, but is there concrete evidence to support their innocence? Join us as we navigate the murky waters of this case on this episode of Highly Strange Days. I'm going to roll some credits while I wait for the rest of the crew to roll in. Special shout out to my replay crew. How are you guys doing tonight? Hi, guys. Welcome to Parawomenradio. I'm Amy.
Angel flew down to a tiny house on the edge of hell. Ain't no garage or a swimming pool, just a sad old friend who thinks he's cool. Angel knocks twice. She says, "Let me in." And then his withered old face says, "Where have you been? Where have you been?" She says, "Hello. Aren't you tired of this? Tired of being here in the dark like this? Like this?"
Okay, a little Serena Matthews for tonight. I want to welcome my co host for tonight, Shannon. Hi, Shannon.
Hi, Amy.
How are you doing, hon?
I am doing fantastic. How are you?
You know, I am doing.
That's good enough.
Yeah. It's the
Yeah.
best I can.
Well,
Okay,
I'm getting excited because I don't know, did we talk about this at the last couple shows? But we are getting ready to roll out a new channel.
I know. Yeah, I think we mentioned it, and I put it in the opening today.
I
But
saw.
yeah. So we have the Paraworld News that is launching, and it will be all paranormal, high strangeness over there. Tell us what you have planned, Shannon.
I plan to talk about current paranormal events that are happening around the world, as well as interesting ones from the past that perhaps I haven't heard of before and that I just stumbled upon.
And paranormal is like huge. That it can be like it can be cryptoid, it can be ghosts, it can be UFO, it can be conspiracy theory, it can just be like a high range. Basically, what it's not going to have is true crime. So,
I am enjoying doing this paranormal true crime with you. Before this, I would say true crime really isn't my thing. Although, I do occasionally enjoy watching, like, Frontline or whatever, or Dateline. Dateline, that's what it is. Frontline's a flea med. Dateline. But, I'm not, the type of woman that likes to, sit down with Netflix and watch like a whole season of true crime. That's just not my game. But it's been a lot of fun doing it with you, especially when there's a paranormal twist. So, but my heart really lies in the paranormal period. And so, we back in the day, decades ago, or maybe was it decades ago? I don't know. A long time ago. And over a decade ago.
A decade and 3 years. How about that?
Decade in 3 years? Okay. Yeah. So, we when we first started doing the women radio back in the day, I was I was the chat moderator, and you and Beverly co-hosted the show, and then you started letting me come on for a little Paraworld news segment. And it was like, I don't know, 15 minutes of just local, of just like current events that were paranormal related. And I loved it. And so I'm really excited to be able to revive that for, a full length show.
And it was really popular. People loved that segment that you did. So I'm really excited about it too. And it kind of like, when you talk about like doing true crime with a paranormal twist, tonight's episode is definitely true crime with a paranormal twist, because have you heard of the West Memphis 3?
I had not, until I saw that that's what we were going to be talking about tonight when I was on YouTube yesterday. And I thought, I should probably look this up and see what it's about.
Okay, well, you're probably not the only one. So let me say that the West Memphis 3 case is about 3 men who were convicted of murdering 3 young boys in West Memphis, Arkansas in 1993. On May 6, 1993, the bodies of Christopher Byers, Stevie Branch, and Michael Moore were found in a ditch in the Robin Hood Hills subdivision. The boys were without clothing. They had been harmed and hogtied, and one of them had lost his manhood. So the trial took place in 1994, and Damien Echols, who we're going to be talking about tonight, we're not going to be talking about all 3, but Damien Echols, Jason Baldwin, and Jesse Miskelly were convicted of the murders. The prosecutors claimed that the unalivings were part of a satanic ritual. So it was part of that time during satanic panic, and it was in the Bible Belt. And they were all sentenced, I think, let me see. Now, Jesse Miskelly, I think, was sentenced to like 40 years because he was basically the one that had confessed repeatedly. And Jason Baldwin got life without parole, because of the fact that it was said that he took part in it. And then Damien Echols got the death row penalty. And so they were behind bars for over 10 years. It was a long time. And there were a lot of Hollywood celebrities that got in on releasing the West Memphis 3. Johnny Depp was one, the Dixie Chicks, Peter, the guy who did Lord of the Rings,
Peter Jackson.
Yeah, Peter Jackson, and those were
They even lived, Damien lived in Peter Jackson's apartment in New York
Yeah.
afterwards.
I've gone through, like, when I used to be a person who believed the Hollywood story about, like, it was satanic panic and these boys had nothing to do with it. But there's evidence when you go through the case, like I did, especially today, and I'm going to take us through. But first, we're going to talk about Damien, because Damien said that had he not practiced magic on death row, he wouldn't have been able to survive. And I wanted to kind of introduce to you who Damien was. Let me get him up on stage. So he, of course, has his own, YouTube page, and this is Damien Echols on YouTube. He has 82K subscribers. He does a lot of video. Well, all of his videos are on magic and magic practices. He does lives as well. He's written books. And one of his books that he wrote, well, actually, that's him now. And this is him back in the day. And I want to show you what he looked like back in the day. And then we'll go into one of the books he wrote.
I think teenagers probably have trouble ever imagining anything but immortality for themselves. They seem to believe that they're indestructible. I mean, I was the same way. I guess all teenagers are. They believe that, I guess, nothing could ever happen to them. But when you wake up one morning and realize that you're on death row and you're waiting there day after day for them to set you an execution date, it's a pretty hard reality check. It's I think you realize it's a pretty harsh world.
We're just about out of time, and I'm wondering if there's anything that you want to say or you want to talk about that I haven't asked you about.
Not that I can think of.
Pardon me?
Not that I can think of. No.
Okay.
You can really tell that the depression is starting to set in right there for him.
Yeah, at first I thought he was high, but I guess he wouldn't be in that particular instance.
He has,
If you could go back to your life before the trial and change anything, would you?
I wouldn't change anything that's ever happened in my entire life. Nothing.
He was pretty cocky during the trial, and I think that it was kind of setting in the fight that was in front of him. I don't know if they were guilty or they're not guilty. We're going to get into that in a second, but I just wanted to show this is a review of his book. It's called Ritual, and he wrote it with his wife, Lori Davis. Now, Lori is one of the people that helped get him out of prison. She saw him in the Paradise Lost in 1994. HBO released this series called Paradise Lost. And probably if they hadn't released that series, none of the Hollywood stuff would have came afterwards. You know what I'm just worried about this, going into this and seeing all this stuff that points to their guilt. I feel like it's like a Gypsy Rose thing where maybe we're just letting people off on passes. I hear a lot of background noise. I think I'm going to remove myself and see if I still hear it. Yeah, I do. I think it's you, Shannon. It is you.
Is that better?
Well, it's staticky. I don't know what that is, like more staticky stuff
Still?
I'm hearing. Say something so I can
Oh,
see if I
sure.
can hear.
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
It's a little bit better. I'm going to turn your volume down on your mic a little bit. Okay.
Okay.
Ooh, you guys, can you still hear her? Is that too low? Is her volume on her mic too low? Let
Test
us
one.
know. Oh, okay. Yeah, let us know if it's too low. Okay, so this is his book that he wrote. He's written a few with his wife. That's what they do. They kind of, I don't know if they've even had jobs. Like, he's done things like, right? Well, I mean, you know what? I'm not even going to say jobs. I'm just going to say normal 9 to 5 jobs. I don't think that has ever happened for them. I think that because like he used to go around to tattoo places and write an X, like tattoo X's on people, just to say that they
Why?
had been X'd by, I guess, just to say they had been X'd by Damien Echols. He likes to really lay into the fact that he's Damien Echols. Like, I guess there's been people who have said that before this all happened, he said that, he was going to be famous and people were going to remember him when he died. But I mean, a lot of teenagers say these things, like, I'm going to be famous one day. That's just a typical teen thing to say. So, but this is his book.
Ritual by Damian Echols and Lori Davis. And I know it came out a couple years ago already, but I thought I'd try my hand at giving it a quick little book review. Overall, this is a really gorgeous book. It does feel a little surface level, and I'll dive into some of like my likes and dislikes about it. If you're looking for like a cool, accessible beginner's book on high magic, something kind of along the lines of Cunningham's Wicca for the Solitary Practitioner, I think it would be a easy pickup. At the very least, it'll look cool on your shelf, and what is wizardry about if not looking dope? So the things I did like about this book, or I guess like pros about this book, obviously it is super gorgeous. We have a really nice cover design. It comes with this nice slip. We have an etched engraved cover. The insides are also gorgeous. Lots of fine detail into this and like nice illustrations. Some super accessible correspondence charts at the back. Cool stuff. And there are lots of accessible ideas in this book. Right on the back, it kind of pitches at that. It says, within these pages, you will find rituals for protection, joy, love, prosperity, creativity, and insight, all presented in plain, accessible language. And it definitely delivers on that. As I was saying before, it kind of reminded me of like the Cunningham book in that regard. I did feel that it was mystically chuggy. It was kind of hit this live, laugh, love tone a lot of the time for me that might be something you're looking for in like your practice or in something you're reading, but kind of pushed me out. Along those lines, there is like a lot of God talk with a capital G and some.
He has spoken why he speaks so much about God talk, being that where he grew up like in the Catholic faith, and that was impressed upon him, the Christian form of God. And so when he does his magic, he invokes the Christian form of God. But here is an article where he has Magick saved my life. The former, I don't know if I can say that word. So, Death wrote inmate turned warlock. Damian Echols' religious beliefs once got him wrongly convicted of murder. Now he's free and wants to teach others. We won't read the whole thing, but do you want to read some of it, Shannon?
Sure. Starting
Okay.
at the big T.
Yep.
All right. The first time Damien Echols saw an angel, he was terrified. It showed up one day in his prison cell at Tucker Maximum Security Unit in Arkansas, where he was serving a DETH sentence after being wrongfully convicted of a triple child murder. The angel had no halo or trumpet. It wasn't like a person with blonde hair and blue eyes and wings on its back, Echols says. Instead, it looked like two black triangles, one big triangle as the body and a smaller one for the head. It had no discernible facial features, but I knew it was an angel. And I got why angels in the Bible say, be not afraid whenever they show up, because this thing was terrifying. After the initial shock, he felt angel's clear light. For years in solitary confinement, Echols had performed rituals intended to summon protective angels. It was part of his spiritual practice of ceremonial magic, which he defines as the art of shaping reality with intention and will. But he'd always experienced angels as comforting visualizations, like imaginary friends, until he saw the triangle apparition in his dark cell, where his only regular visitors were mosquitoes and rats. It was the first time I felt like an angel was really physically there, he says. That vision cemented his faith in magic, spelled with a K, which he emphasizes has nothing to do with the hat trick illusions of David Blaine, nor does it involve Harry Potter-style spell casting. Rather, it's a specific spiritual tradition derived from an amalgamation of Gnostic Christianity, esoteric Judaism, and Taoist energy practices. He started practicing for 8 hours a day. I turned my cell into a monastery. Now he credits magic with his release from prison after 18 years. In his new book, High Magic, A Guide to the Spiritual Practices That Saved My Life on DETH.ro, he presents himself as living proof that these esoteric techniques, which include visualizations, breath work, and bellowed chants in Hebrew and Aramaic, really work. I did magic to lessen the power of the politicians who were invested in carrying out my murder, he writes. I performed magic to draw freedom toward me. Given the near miracle of his resilience, even skeptics might find themselves swayed by his testimony.
You know what I have to say about this? Like, why couldn't, like, people say, like, oh, I prayed, their Christian prayers and it worked. So, I mean, why his magic could have very well worked, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I believe that both avenues work with intent.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
That's a good
I would
point.
say it's kind of like the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Given the near miracle of his resilience, even skeptics might find themselves swayed by his testimony. While Echols' interest in occult spirituality is part of what helped him survive, it was also part of what landed him on DETH.ro in the first place. As a Metallica-obsessed teenager in West Memphis, Arkansas, in the midst of the satanic panic of the 1990s, his dabbles with Wicca made him an outcast in his Bible-thumping town.
Okay, let's stop right there. And
Yeah.
we can pop over, and I have some video of him. Whoops. I have some video of him teaching rituals that helped him stay whole on the row.
Cool.
Arkansas, while his two friends received life sentences. The men, dubbed the West Memphis Three, were released in 2011 after new DNA evidence cleared them. A string of documentaries have told their story, and they've won support from celebrities, including actor Johnny Depp and Pearl Jam's Eddie Vedder. In his newest book, High Magic, A Guide to the Spiritual Practices That Saved My Life on Death Row, Damien shares what kept him whole for nearly 2 horrendous decades. He's going to join Eddie Vedder at the Neptune Theater tonight, but we're pleased to welcome Damien Echols to New Day First. It's really nice to meet you.
Thank you.
As I just said to you a few minutes ago, I'm very sorry for what you've been through, but you say it's brought you here today. So
exactly.
You've made your peace with this. Let's talk about what magic is with a K, which was my first question when I opened the book, and you answer in a really, really interesting and I think profound way. Tell me how you describe it.
Well, what magic is, when you see it spelled with a K, it's sort of an amalgamation of Gnostic Christianity and esoteric Judaism and a lot of like ancient Chinese Taoist energy circulation practices. Magic is, for all intents and purposes, the Western path to enlightenment. You know, we think to achieve these things that we have to automatically turn to Eastern traditions. A lot of people don't realize that we have, you know, something that's just as rich and beautiful and useful here in the West, our own spiritual traditions.
And it is a spiritual, meditative, inner approach to things. And you're the second person I've met who's had a story like this, where they have been wrongly accused and convicted of something and faced what seems like, you know, this almost insurmountable obstacle of despair that you're on death row. Did you already know some of these things when this happened?
Some of them, yes. And I always tell people it's kind of hard to like make people understand this, just because what we did go through, you know, it looks so horrific from the outside. But I always tell people what saved me, what kept me sane, what kept me going was in magic. We have a concept called will. It's very similar to Dharma in Buddhism. It's sort of what you're here for, what your purpose is. You know, people think of like a spiritual practice that the entire point, the entire aim of a spiritual practice is to, you know, whatever terminology you want to use, become one with divinity, or, you know, union with God, you know, whatever concept, whatever name you want to put on that concept. But in actuality, if that were the only purpose for our existence, we would have never been born, because we were that before we were born. The point of magic, part of the point of magic, is to help you figure out what your will is, what you're here to do. Once you figure that out and apply yourself to it 100% with all your heart, then things like despair and depression, they sort of fall into the background, fade away. And for me, the thing that I've always loved, what my will was to do ceremonial magic, to do these practices. There were times that I actually wouldn't even focus on the fact that I was in prison for weeks at a time. It reminded me of a story that I read about Timothy Leary one time when he was in prison, and Ram Dass went to visit him and said, "We've got a plan to break you out of here." And Timothy Leary says, "No, you can't do that. I've got too much work to do." And that's how I started to feel at some points.
How removed you were able to make yourself from your external surroundings. It reminded me of Man's Search for Meaning, which was like my favorite book by Viktor Frankl. It has some of those same kinds of things. It seems like such an elevated humanity. It's a very interesting concept. What did you physically do? Are there exercises that we can do that kind of get us in that frame of mind, or started in that frame of mind?
There absolutely are. And some of them are really simple, and some of them, you know, build in how complicated they are.
Is there one you could show us
Absolutely.
today?
Yeah. One that is really easy, really simple, and it's just a very basic practice for clearing your mind. You know, most people wrestle with trying to, say you have a song running around in your head that you can't get out, or you're reliving an argument that you had with someone, you know, a week ago. A lot of the Eastern practices are more time consuming, and, you know, they are more involved. There's one, and it kind of sounds a little bit morbid, maybe just because of my past whenever you bring this up, but I call it the prison cell meditation. All you have to do is sit with your eyes closed and imagine that you are standing in a prison cell. Everything in the cell is white. There's a window on the very back wall of the prison cell. It's almost a slit of a window, but it's up so high that the only way you can reach it is by doing a pull-up or a chin-up and using brute physical strength to pull yourself up to this window. And whenever you do this, you try to make yourself physically feel. You want to add as much tactile sensation to the visualization as you possibly can. So you want to actually feel your muscles straining, feel your shoulders pulling, feel your torso tightening up as you're lifting yourself over the window frame. And as your eyes go over the edge of the window frame, white light bursts in and completely consumes everything until there's no more cell, there's no more you, there's only white light. And if you do this 3 or 4 times back to back, takes no more than 5 minutes to do this, you'll find yourself a lot more focused. A lot of your anxiety will be gone. You won't be focused on whatever it was that was depressing you or causing you to feel despair, things of that nature. So it's really simple, really easy.
Fascinating stuff. Eddie Vedder, who, obviously we love and
So that's all you need to do. It's that easy to do that. He does like to name drop people, and so we're going to take a quick look at Johnny Depp, because he says that Damien Echols taught what Damien Echols has taught him.
Oh.
Years ago, there was in a small town in Arkansas, 3 little boys were heinously murdered, and Damian Echols, who was a local kid, and 2 of his mates were arrested for this heinous crime, and they were completely innocent. Damian ended up on death row, and he was on death row for 18 years.
18 years.
I got involved in the case probably, maybe he was a few years inside already when I heard about it. So Damian spent 18 years on death row. Everybody put themselves together and said, this can't happen. So 18 years later, we find ourselves, we're in a court, we're able to defend that verdict that was dirty. And 18 years after being from the age of 18 to the age of 36, he was on death row. He taught me something so incredible that I just, if you forget it, cool, forget it. If you remember it, you might think about it once in a while. When there's a monolith, this Goliath in front of you, this massive enemy, and it all seems too much, or it seems too impossible, No, it's not. Just Damien taught me something from the I Ching, and it's a symbol, and it's called the power of the small. It takes nothing but one person to start chipping away at this massive, massive injustice. Damien chipped away for 18 years. He's a free man today. Just know that chip away at the tiny bits. People will help keep chipping away at the small. The power of the small works. And I know that because I'm very, very small right now. In front of you, before you.
But that's, actually so true, that the power of the small, if you don't think that you have any power, you do, because the power of the small is incredible.
I'd never heard that term before. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah. So I thought, like, oh, this is so wonderful. It's, one of those happy stories about prison where, they got released. They're still considered guilty. It's still on record that they're the ones that did it, that they're guilty. They're not looking for anyone else. They took an Alford plea, which means they're basically saying to the prosecutor, you have enough evidence to probably convict me. And I'm just going to take this plea and I'll have my, freedom, but it's not really, you're still considered guilty. And so I thought, well, I wonder, are people like, totally buy the Hollywood story, and that's what all it was satanic panic and, this bumbling police agency. And so, I had to go over to Reddit. Reddit. And this is, anyone believe the West Memphis 3 were guilty? They mentioned the case in the most recent episode. I have to say, from trying to read both sides of the argument, they seem pretty guilty. I know the podcast covered the case, so was curious what others thought. And then, of course, I had to go down the rabbit hole with all of this. And there's a lot of people that think they're guilty. Like, I thought everybody thought they were innocent, but that's not true. And a lot of people really lean towards Damian being the worst of the worst of them. But then I also always have to be like, is he the worst of the worst because he was the goth one? He was the only goth one out of the three. Are you still there?
Yep, I am. That just seems so unfair. Just because he was goth, he got, the DEATH penalty. That's just not cool.
Yeah, incredibly unfair. But here's the thing, and they also said that it was incredibly unfair because Miss Kelly is supposed to have a low IQ, and the confession, they only recorded the, like, I don't know, half hour, 15, 20 minutes of the confession, and he was there for an entire day. So it was one of those situations where not everything got recorded. But
and he was also a minor at the time.
Yeah, he was a minor, but his dad said it was okay for him to talk. He signed a release.
No, he told them it was okay for him to go there, for them to take him in, but he did not agree that he could talk.
Okay, well then I don't know. I don't know the answer to that because I read that it was he signed a thing. And we're gonna watch some things and tonight we're just gonna focus on Damian. If the crowd wants more Memphis 3, I can go down this rabbit hole for like days. This case interests me because it was the first case that I remember seeing. It came out on like you had to rent it at the video store. It wasn't like on TV or anything like that. It was, you had to rent it, I remember. And I just remember.
Are you talking about the Paradise Lost?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I just remember being shocked by it because nobody was watching stuff on the computer in 1994.
No, they sure weren't.
It came out on like DVD or something like that. Those big DVD tapes that you had to go to Blockbuster for. And it just has burned in my memory. And, and when I saw that video, I was like, oh my gosh, these poor kids, what have they done to these teenagers? Because it really looks like they're being railroaded. But Jason, is his name? Miss Kelly. What's his? Jesse Miss Kelly confessed on the record 6 times to 6 different people. That's on the record. So he's probably done it more. On the record, he did it 6 times, and he sought people out to confess. And his stepmother has said that the night after it happened, she heard, like late at night, she heard Jesse sobbing really loud, like so loud. And she got up and she went in to see what was wrong. And he said his girlfriend was moving to another state, but his girlfriend never moved to another state, never was going to move to another state. And every time he confessed, he said it was because he thought that Damien and Jason were such sick people that they deserve to be on the outside, or they don't deserve to be on the outside.
Oh.
So there was a lot. This rabbit hole is deep and
Jesse Miss
dark.
Kelly was coerced into making a false confession, you have to be more specific about which confession you're referring to, because Miss Kelly confessed multiple times. His first of 3 taped confessions was on June 3rd of 93. He confessed again on August 19th of the same year to his lawyers, February 5th of 94 in a police car after his trial, again on February 8th to his attorneys, and yet again on the 17th with his attorneys and prosecutors present. Along with all this, numerous others have claimed that Jesse confessed to them in private. In the end, I'd like to know what your thoughts are. Feel free to leave.
So Jason or Jesse, I keep wanting to call him Jason because the other kid's name is Jason. Jesse was busy, very busy confessing. Now this, oops, sorry, I didn't mean to get so loud in the mic. This channel, Burn After Reading, has a great, it's like 2-hour long video, and he goes into all the like holes in the story. Like the part 1 is like Jesse, part 2 is Damien, and part 3 is Jason. And I think there's a part 4 too. But we're gonna watch part 2, Damien. This is what made my eye go up.
So that's what the kid looked like back then? Okay, here you go.
Law series, The Devil's Knot book, and a cast of famous people sympathetic to the West Memphis 3 cause. They believe that Damien was just a mere depressed, misunderstood bright kid in an ignorant southern judgmental Christian town who scorned him simply because he dressed differently and liked other interests. Now, according to Damien, West Memphis was second Salem, and he was a victim in their modern-day witch hunt. Okay, now call me crazy, but I'm pretty sure the prosecutors of the West Memphis 3 trials didn't use spectral evidence to convict them like they did in Salem back in the day. Some of you are probably asking, what the hell is spectral evidence? Well, Joan Johnson Lewis of thoughtco.com explains it really well. Spectral evidence is evidence based on visions and dreams of actions of a witch's spirit or specter. Thus, spectral evidence is testimony about what an accused person's spirit did, rather than the actions of the accused person in the body. In the Salem witch trials, spectral evidence was used as evidence in the courts, especially in the early trials. If a witness could testify seeing the spirit of someone and could testify to interacting with that spirit, perhaps even bargaining with that spirit, that was considered evidence that the person possessed had consented to the possession.
People used to do crazy things. They remember, wasn't it you that in your one of your Paraworld news things, you said that pig got put on trial for possessing someone or something like that?
Who did?
Back in the 1800s, they put a pig on trial. They used to put animals on trial for possessing humans back in the 1800s.
That does not ring a bell, but my memory is kind of Swiss cheesy lately, so it could have been me.
Okay.
And thus was responsible. Okay, I'm 100% confident that spectral evidence was not used to convict Damien Echols, hence voiding the lunacy of this being another Salem witch trial. I'm also certain that West Memphis didn't attribute all other crimes to Satanism. However, what we do see, if we dig deeper, we'll see a violent, disturbed kid with documented health problems along with suicidal and homicidal tendencies. Let's discuss what led up to the murders. Right?
Murder.
On May 29th of 1992, nearly a year before the murders, Damien was arrested for burglary and sexual misconduct after trying to run away with a girl named Deanna Holcomb, his girlfriend at the time. During the arrest, Damien threatened to kill the officer who made the arrest and Deanna's father. Later, Damien told caseworkers that he made a suicide pact with Deanna if they couldn't be together. How Romeo and Juliet. Jerry Driver, a juvenile probation officer, along with Detective John Murray, questioned Damien. Damien denied being a Satanist, but he did admit he was involved in the occult. He described himself as a gray witch, a witch that is in the middle of white and black witchcraft. Basically, he saw himself neutral between good and evil. Damien explained to Jerry that he did have a group that would meet and that his main participant was his best friend, Jason Baldwin. He also boasted that Jason would never give him up, which was confirmed in Damien's autobiography entitled Life After Death. Jason knew of Damien and Deanna's plan to run away together and was with them part of the day, helping them.
So this doesn't have anything to do with it, but he did end up he was in some psych units prior to the crime. He did say that he drank blood and that he had a coven, and he said that it's been said that he tried to talk his girlfriend into sacrificing the baby if it was a girl. He had during this time that it happened, he had a son. His girlfriend was pregnant with his baby, and she ended up having a son. And this is all proven because it's documented that he was in these institutions.
In trial, Damien admitted being at the softball field, but denied making those remarks, calling the girls liars. Years after being long convicted, in a prison interview, he admitted about Amanda's phone number and address. After the child murders, Amanda reported that at the local skating rink, Damien would follow her and Jennifer around, stalking them, and threatened that they were the next two to die. On May 24th, at a softball field, multiple different girls heard Damien claim he murdered Stevie, Christopher, and Michael. He went on to say that he planned on killing 2 more people before turning himself in. He claimed that he already had one of them picked out. Some of these girls include Christophe Van Vickel, Katie Hendricks, Jody Medford, Jessica Medford, Jackie Medford, and Katie LaFoy. Donna Medford.
He's basically pointing out that there's a lot of people that heard him say that he wanted to continue and that he had unalived the boys. This is like an hour long, so we're gonna skip through it to parts.
Sure.
In addition to Jesse's many confessions, others have witnessed Damien's taste for blood. Tiffany Allen witnessed a fight between Jason Baldwin and this other boy. After the fight, Jason bled, and Damien wiped Jason's blood off with his finger and put it in his mouth. Damien made it clear during an interview that he doesn't drink blood, but licks it. An irrelevant statement because whether he's drinking, sucking, or licking, he's consuming.
And we've interviewed people that drink blood before on Parawomenradio, and it's a whole alt community that does it, but they're usually very careful. Like, you have to have your blood tested, and it's between people that I just know because I knew some people who did it. I've never done it, you guys, but they usually say that they're low in iron, or I don't know what it is. And then there's also people that claim to be energy vampires. I've had energy vampires on the show. Remember, I can't think of her name. It's on the tip of my tongue. She was on TV a few times afterwards. Our show really gave a lot of people a boost up, and it always irritated me that they never gave us our credit for it.
They didn't. I mean, my biggest claim to fame is that we had Lorraine Warren on the show.
Yeah, I know. We're gonna have to, when it gets closer to Halloween, we're gonna have to pull up that interview and
Cool.
play it. Okay, so so this is a very good but it's like 2 hours long. We link everything that we view in the description, and often we talk over it, stop and start it, don't read everything. It's for fair play use, and we do put everything down in the description. I think that's important. Not everybody does that, and I think it's very important for channels to do it. It can be a pain in the butt because we show a lot of we move along to different channels and different sites, but I think it's important. Here we have Damien Echols failed his polygraph. But I've also seen in places where it says they all passed the polygraph. So a 10-question polygraph was, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, but they're not the only ones that failed the polygraph regarding this case. And that's one of the reasons why they got released.
They have really screwed up this. The police really screwed up this case so that nobody's going to ever know who did this, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
But we are going to talk about there's new testing that Damien is actually trying to fight for. So a 10-question polygraph test was formulated, and 3 polygraph charts were conducted. The test contained the following relevant questions. Number 3, at any time Wednesday or Wednesday night were you in Robin Hood Hills? His answer was no. Question 5, were you present when those boys were killed? No. Did you KILL any of those 3 children? No. Do you know who KIL those 3 children? No. Do you suspect anyone of having harmed those 3 boys? No. Is it the opinion of this? It is the opinion of this polygraph examiner that this subject recorded significant responses indicative of deception when he answered the above listed relevant questions in the manner noted. Conclusion, deception indicated. So he was one that failed the polygraph, but again, like you said, many failed the polygraph. And we have here where this is an interview of why do people think the West Memphis 3 are guilty.
In court, and the mental health history of Echols were completely left out, much like the documentaries which completely ignore these aspects. So I'd like to present some things to whoever is watching this, and you can decide for yourself. I am not claiming absolute guilt necessarily, but I believe these are very important things to factor into the bigger picture. So here are some reasons why I distrust Echols and what he says. I will be using clips from the trial where Echols is blatantly caught lying, specifically about his obsession with Aleister Crowley and the occult, a vital part of understanding who Damien Echols is. He openly declares himself a witch and practices magic, so it's a relevant thing to address. We will also take a look at some of his medical mental health records and why his parents had him.
No, he said on the stand that he didn't know who Aleister Crowley was. Yeah, he was like doodling Aleister Crowley on shit. So he got caught in a lie on the stand, like because they asked him, do you know who Aleister Crowley is? And he's like, no. And then like a few minutes later, they're like, is this your handwriting? And it's like, Aleister Crowley. He's like, yeah, just, yeah, whatever. He was a real, he was something. He was your typical teenager. Like, I'm going to make this as hard for you as possible.
Yeah.
Admitted multiple times and claimed to be afraid of him. The idea he was simply falsely accused because he wore black and liked heavy metal and was depressed, becomes outrageous when you actually take a look at this public evidence. So let's start off by looking at this clip right here.
You're familiar with a fellow named Aleister Crowley?
I know
Heard
who
of
he
him?
is. I know
Okay.
who he is.
And he's a guy who kind of professes, he's a noted author in the field of satanic worship, right?
I know who he is, but I've never saw any of his books personally.
Not really much of a follower of his.
I would have read them if I would have saw him, but I just
Okay.
never.
Okay. But Aleister Crowley is a guy that, based on his writings, believes in human sacrifice, doesn't he?
He also believed he was God, though.
So he states he never read Crowley, says he would have read him if he would have saw him, which is an odd thing to say. Goes on to state Crowley believes he is God to sort of discredit Crowley in a way. Not sure how someone who hasn't read him even knows this either way. That makes no sense at all. This is an obvious contradiction, and it gets much worse from here. Let's continue.
Doesn't have any particular significance to you?
I know who he is. I've read a little bit about him, but I've never read anything by him.
Let me show you a copy of some documents. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
Okay. What is that?
It was this paper I had on different alphabets for like translations where you could write things that nobody could read, and this was one of the forms.
Oh, okay. Well, where did you have that at? When did you do that? Write those things out?
Sometime before I was arrested, I guess.
Okay. Are you sure that you hadn't done those since you were arrested while you've been staying in jail?
I don't know. I might have.
Well, whose names are written on that document?
Mine, Jason's, my son's, one that says Aleister Crowley, and
Wait, who?
Aleister Crowley.
Now, this is a document that you've written while you've been waiting in jail for trial, right?
If you say so.
Well, you wrote it, correct? That's your writing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You recall when you wrote it?
Not really.
Well, what I'm going to ask you is that this Damien Seth Azariah Echols, your son, he wasn't born until after you were placed in jail, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So if you've got his name listed on this document, then this document had to be generated after he was born, right?
Yes.
Okay. So this is something you've written since you've been sitting in here in jail waiting for trial.
Yes.
And what you were doing was writing out various names in different type alphabets, correct?
From the way it looks here, I was practicing, trying to memorize them.
Okay. And one of the names that you picked out to write about was this fellow named Aleister Crowley, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Is that just a total coincidence? You just pulled his name out of the air?
No, it's just the same book that I had with the different alphabets in it. It also had stuff about him in it.
Well, did you have the book out there at the time you were doing this?
This was just from what I remembered myself, where I was practicing, trying to memorize, get it all in my head.
So he lies about when he wrote it and gets caught in the lie, lies about not really knowing who Crowley is, despite writing in a secret, memorized, coded language about him. Do people typically constantly lie and have the need to code what they are writing while in custody for murder if they are innocent and have nothing to hide? It's pretty outrageous that this is ignored. It gets even worse than this. Let's continue.
Control of the demonic portion of people.
He asked me, did I think there were some people that could not control that side? I said, yes, I guess there is.
It also states that Damien stated that the younger the victim would be more innocent, and in turn, more power would be given the person doing the killing.
Right.
Okay. Did you say that?
Yes.
Okay, those are your words.
Mm-hmm.
Did you pick that up when you were studying to be a Catholic?
No. I saw that on several movies, books.
So Damian Echols casually admits to these horrific and disturbing statements about the younger the victim, the more power. Now, no one in their right mind would do such a thing, especially when they are on trial for a heinous crime such as this. Casually says it's a sort of common knowledge because he's seen it in movies and books, acting like everybody knows this or something. Now let's take a look at a line from this Crowley book. You know, the books Echols claimed to have never read, right?
I know he is, but I've never saw any of his books personally.
A male child of perfect innocence and high intelligence is the most satisfactory and suitable victim. Aleister Crowley. Magick Book 4, Liber Abba. I would call this an ideological smoking gun. Anyone care to explain this away? lies and contradicts himself, wants to act like he isn't knowledgeable on Crowley while openly and casually making reference to this horrific sick line from a book he hasn't apparently ever read. It's an exact conceptual match.
I think that I could understand why somebody might lie about this, considering that if it was satanic panic, you understand that it's satanic panic and you don't want that to be brought up, right? And being a teenager, you think you can just lie and like skate over it. Do you know what I mean? Do you agree?
Yeah, I know what you mean. And to be honest, I really, I guess I don't see where I disbelieve the kid, Damien. At this point.
I'm like, I can't figure out if I believe it or I don't believe it. I have to go further into it, because I mean, the fact that Miss Kelly keeps, saying what he saw is like pretty upsetting. And then even after his trial, these police officers said, just, you can tell us what happened. It won't go against you. I mean, in court. And he supposedly like told this whole story about it. It's hard to listen to. It's, about how they were harming and sexually harming the boys and what they were doing to them. And they did find this liquor bottle that was there. And in one of the stories, Miss Kelly said that they had been bought some alcohol, and one of it was one of the whiskey that he said, and that they had all went down to the water and they were just sitting around drinking, and they heard the boys coming, and so they got out of the water to hide in the woods. And it's been said that like the people that did this to the boys had to have been hiding in the woods. And then they came out, but that they found the exact liquor bottle he said he was drinking down at the water. So,
yeah.
From a dude who writes in code about Crowley while he is in custody for an act exactly matching this. I mean, like, really? Really? So let's say it wasn't Echols in the West Memphis 3. What is the statistical likelihood Echols just happened to specifically admit reference to this line in a book and have this ideology? It seems oddly coincidental, doesn't it? Crowley is known as the most wicked man in history, and this is who he openly has emulated his entire life, and it's only increased after.
I don't know. They've said like Aleister Crowley, when he's said like about unaliving babies, it was more him talking about killing his semen.
Facilities. Charter Hospital of Little Rock, patient Damien Echols, chief complaint, they say I suck blood. Let's skip down a paragraph. Damien was placed in the detention center. While at the detention center, he reportedly grabbed a peer and began sucking blood from the peer's neck. According to Damien, he relates that the peer was aware that he was going to do this. Staff reports that Damien was not remorseful for his behavior. Damien indicated that he sucked blood in order to get into a gang. He denies that it was any type of ritual. Damien reportedly threatened to kill his father while in Oregon and also threatened to eat him. Do I need to say more? I'm going to go to the next document. You can pause and read the entire document yourself if you want. Focus of today's session is spent talking with Damien.
I also think that Damien was really into shock, like shocking people. So.
Yes, I can see that. I can absolutely see that.
So, I mean, I take very little, like, in the psychiatric. I mean, I guess I should hold more to it, but it just seems like, I don't know. It does seem a bit satanic panicky to me.
I agree.
His feelings of death. He brought with him to session a poem that he had written during the past week. The theme of this poem centered around death and power. Damien explained that he obtains his power by drinking the blood of others. He typically drinks the blood of sexual partner or of a ruling partner. This is achieved by biting or cutting. He states it makes me feel like God.
He also believed he was God, though. So
he remembers doing this as far back as the age of 10. He does not remember where he learned to do this. Damien believes that there is no God. He feels that society believes there is a God because society is weak. He wants very much to be all-powerful. He wants very much to be in total control. I think I'll stop there. I think that's enough. I think that paints an accurate picture. You can, again, pause the video and read the entire document yourself if you want, but there is tons of examples like this throughout his entire medical mental health history, which are public record, which you can go read for yourself. So again, does this
So he was very troubled. He was a very troubled boy. And that probably made them a target, because they were troubled boys. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. But I think that he could be intrigued by Aleister Crowley and want to learn more about him, and maybe had read about him in other books. But I mean, what the guy asked him is, had he read any of Aleister Crowley's books? And I mean, living in the Bible Belt, they might not have been accessible to him.
Yeah. He might not have read them, just knew about them, but he knew how to do the alphabet. But anybody who is interested in witchcraft has looked at something Aleister Crowley. I'm sorry.
I have not looked at anything Aleister Crowley has written ever.
No, ever?
Nope.
Oh.
Nope. Never.
Well, it's not an abnormal thing to do. Let's say that. And you can tell that Damien is well read. You can tell that. So,
yeah.
What do people think in chat? How are you feeling about Damien? He's totally misunderstood. Yeah, I think he's completely misunderstood, and it makes me sad. But there is more to this, but it's just too much to go into to go to every side that says, like, well, this is what Jason did, this is what Damien did, this is what Jesse did. If you want to do I'm trying to lean more towards the magical aspects of Damien. If you guys want me to do like more of a true crime type thing, and include all the boys, we can do that. But you're probably wondering, like, do they think anybody else could have done this? And the person that everybody is leaning towards is, there's this homeless guy at Bojangles. It was also, Robin Hood was right by a major freeway that took you, like, it's one of those freeways that was perfect for serial unalivers. They could just hop on it and be gone. You know what I mean? It like intersects a bunch of states, I think, and stuff like that. I don't know, but it takes you away fast. But at first people were like saying that the Byers boys' stepfather did it, and that kind of, like, they leaned towards that for a little while, and then they figured out, like, no, he didn't do it. But now they're leaning towards Terry Hobbs, one of the other boys' father, that did it. And this is Christopher Byers' father talking about it.
Just who do you believe is the real killer? Terry Wayne Hobbs. Amen. I don't know how much.
He was a character. He was a character in all of the Paradise Lost.
Here, I have to make it.
There were a few of the Paradise Lost, and like I think at one he was even like laying on his son's grave, because the Christopher's mom passes away later on. So.
Mm-hmm. But then there was also, I don't know if I'm stealing your thunder,
No.
two other teenagers that.
What makes you so sure?
Go ahead.
Two other teenagers that left town like immediately after they discovered the children, the three children, and they did gave them polygraphs, and they both failed them as well.
Mm-hmm. Isn't it so? And polygraphs, a lot of people fail them. A lot of people that are innocent fail them, and a lot of people that are guilty pass them. So they're just tools, and unfortunately, people use it as something more than like it's proof of guilt or innocence.
Yes, they give it more clout than it deserves.
Yeah.
What makes you so sure that it's Terry Hobbs? Pardon me? What makes you so sure that it's Terry Hobbs? Who's the real? Well, his DNA was found there in the lace of Michael Moore.
So it says there's just one problem with this. Statement. The lace was used to bind Michael Moore, but no one knows who the lace really belonged to. If the lace was Stevie's, then Hobbs's hair was secondary transfer. Putting them in the water really damaged the DNA, but there is some DNA.
It didn't get there by osmosis. David Jacoby's hair was there. What did it do? Fly there on Harry Potter's wand? It either fell off of Terry Hobbs or he was there. There's no other two ways about it. None of the West Memphis 3's DNA was there.
He's failing to add that the hair that allegedly belongs to Jacoby was discovered weeks after the murders. Also, it matches 6 to 7% of the population.
None of my DNA was there.
It says, really, none of your DNA. Some of us still remember the Kershaw knife with BLOOD matching you or Christopher. So it would be normal that there would be some of the parents
so crime
stuff, but here's the Terry Hobbs 2022 update on what they're saying about him.
Online.com, and the story is linked in the description below, recently posted an article on the West Memphis 3 case, stating crime con experts have analyzed a never-before-seen interview with Terry Hobbs. Now, he is the person that most people think likely committed this crime. The article states, for years, the stepfather of one of the 3 children killed in West Memphis, Arkansas, has maintained his innocence despite public outcry to investigate him. I'm just basing this off all the interviews I've seen, articles I've read, and the research I've done on my own. But if I had to make a guess, I would allegedly say that Terry Hobbs is indeed the person that committed this crime. Everything, in my opinion, allegedly points in that direction. It states during a special presentation at CrimeCon 2022 in Las Vegas, former New York State prosecutor joined Truth and Justice podcast host Bob Ruff and investigative journalist George Jared to take a deep dive into a conversation Jarrett previously had with Terry Hobbs. Hobbs was the stepfather of Stephen Branch, one of the boys that was found murdered in 1993 in West Memphis. Now, as we know, in 2011, the defendants were released from prison after accepting an Alford plea, which allowed them to maintain their innocence and get out of prison. However, their plea didn't clear their convictions, and all 3 men still have a murder charge on. But again, I would also have a very hard time somewhat admitting to something that I know I didn't do. But I do think I would also accept that Alford plea and work on my case from the outside.
I would for sure take that Alford plea and work on my case from the outside.
Oh, absolutely.
Once they get you inside, you've got to fight tooth and nail to get out to change it. And yeah, for sure. So there's this fun little thing. I just wanted to, and we are going to talk about the final, talk about the new evidence at the very end. But there's this fun little thing where this guy bought a storage locker of Damien Echols and Lori Davis in 2017.
Ramsey, I wanted to put this clip up of a news report from Arkansas concerning the purchase of Damien Echols' storage locker by a man named Rob Horn. You'll see Rob Horn in the following video, and then I'll follow up with some of the pictures that Rob Horn took of Damien Echols' journal, compared it to other writings from another journal, and then show an advanced copy of Mara Leverett's book, Devil's Knot.
Have you ever seen this show, Storage Wars? It's where people can buy abandoned storage units through an auction. Well, one Arizona man who recently moved to Arkansas decided to take his chance at a Little Rock auction, and what he found inside the unit he bought was insight into one of the most publicized murder cases in the country. Janice Broach has the story.
Here's a copy of Aleister Crowley's The Book of the Law on top of this stack of books.
Was it 1 in a million to be the person to actually bought his stuff? Not very many people.
It's Stephen King in there.
But Rob
They sure did.
Arkansas is that lucky. This kind of stuff. He didn't know what he had when he recently bought the abandoned contents of a storage locker in Little Rock. I just saw a bunch of books with, I can sell books. These books, lots of them on the table, under it, and in boxes, 12 to 15 boxes of books, now in his home. A lot of the books has his name written in it. Damian Echols, Varner Unit, Grady, Arkansas. That Damian Echols from the notorious West Memphis 3 case. All a mystery to Horn. None of it meant anything to the retired police officer from Arizona until his wife read one of the letters tucked inside one of the boxes. Damien had the Supermax. So we started Googling real quick, of course, and we came up with, and that's also how I found you. He knew the locker he purchased belonged to someone named Lori Davis. We did a lot more research and realized she had married him while he was in prison. And then he knew what he had. And then I thought, wow, we might be able to make some money off this, maybe. There are photos of Lori, photos of her outside the prison, a photo of Lori and Damien.
Rob Horn also told me that there are photos of Lori Davis naked with a ball gag in her mouth that he sent back to Damien and Lori.
Art possibly drawn by Damien, and there are
I don't know that I would have sent that back to them. That's just weird. Amy, you there, dear?
Oops, sorry. My mic keeps coming undone. Maybe it's my mic that's doing it, but I'm not moving. And okay, anyway, we'll know at the end of this. So, helps us dance. Be sure to give this live a thumbs up. Helps us dance out into the algorithm. Party out there. Bring more people back to the party. It's just a free way to help us out. We're coming to you today on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Hi, guys. All right, so let's talk about the new evidence. So there's new evidence, and Damien has really been fighting to have it tested. That's another thing. I don't know why, if he was guilty, why he would be fighting to have it tested unless he's got this big master plan, knowing that they're never going to test it. But there's new evidence that was found.
This breaking updates top the news at 5. Thanks for joining us. I'm Stephanie Skurlock.
And I'm Greg Hurst. Attorneys for one of the West Memphis 3 want evidence retested 28 years after the horrific deaths of 3 little boys. All 3 men in this case, Damian Echols, Jesse Muskelly Jr., and Jason Baldwin, were released from prison in 2012 after they made a deal with prosecutors called an Alford deal, meaning they maintain their innocence but admit the prosecution's evidence would likely result in a guilty verdict.
It's a case gaining international attention after many believe the men who were teenagers at the time of the killings were innocent. WB Shea Arthur is live tonight in West Memphis with what this new discovery of evidence means for the case. Shea?
Hey, Stephanie. Hey, Greg. Yeah, the next step in this case is to get that evidence DNA tested with new technology. Now, a spokesperson I talked to says the goal is to find the real killers in this case. This is a photo Lonnie Sori with Arkansas Take Action says was snapped inside a West Memphis police evidence room.
To our shock, it was intact, it was cataloged, it was packaged, and it was all there.
Showing evidence from the 1993 murder of 3 little boys in West Memphis, part of the widely known West Memphis 3 case, landing at the time teenagers Damian Echols, Jason Baldwin, and Jesse Muskelly behind bars for nearly 18 years. Echols, once on death row. The men, no longer in prison, continue to maintain their innocence in the murders. But at one point, the team that worked to free the West Memphis 3 thought the evidence in the internationally known case might not even exist. They've been working for the last 18 months to get access, but said received no cooperation from city officials.
And then what even worried us more is we started hearing from these officials that the evidence had been destroyed, lost, or mishandled. So rumors that had been lost in a fire. It was very confusing and a very sad state of development.
Finally, after a court order, they have access to the evidence. Sori says the plan is to use DNA testing technology called MVAC.
Clearly, there's been significant strides made in DNA testing since 1993. How will this process take place, and who's paying for it?
We have to raise some money because it is expensive to test DNA, and providing the law enforcement authorities in Crittenden County don't stand in our way.
The same day.
So the problem is they are standing in the way. They don't want to have it tested, but finally, it's been reported. Let me see. Hold on. It was reported on 5 months ago. I found this.
Heart and all my soul that the day is coming whenever we will see justice and we'll walk out of this place. It may not come tomorrow. It may not come on September 30th, but it will come.
That video you just heard was Damian Echols in 2010, right before he, Jason Baldwin, and Jesse Kelly took an Alford plea deal in the West Memphis 3 case. This deal allowed them to keep their innocence while accepting that the prosecutors had enough evidence to convict them. But since that deal, Damian Echols has continued to claim that he's innocent and did not murder 3 8-year-old boys. Thursday morning, the Arkansas Supreme Court reversed a lower court's ruling, meaning evidence that was once thought to be destroyed in the 30-year-old case can be DNA tested. Well, now Ashley Godwin is going to break down the decision and how Echols' legal team is preparing for what's next.
Once that additional DNA testing started pointing in different directions than the 3, then we first started to have real hope that maybe there was a way this case would break open.
Damian Echols' lead counsel, Stephen Braga, has been on the case since 2009. Right before Echols, Jason Baldwin and Jesse Kelly made an Alford plea deal.
I haven't been involved in another case, anything like this in my career. Believe me, this is one of a kind, really dramatic case in terms of, as Judge Laser said at the Alford plea hearing, it's a tragedy on all sides.
Echols has maintained his innocence since, pushing for justice in the case. And that push came closer to reality in 2021 when evidence thought to have been destroyed was found. Echols and his legal team want to test it for DNA to see if they can identify who was at the crime scene. But when they took it to court in 2022, a Crittenden County Circuit judge said no, and that the petition they filed under was not applicable in this case because Echols wasn't in state custody. 2 years later, the Arkansas Supreme Court weighed in on the decision. In a 4-3 majority opinion, the justices say Echols can test the evidence with this law, and he does not need to be in state custody to seek relief to prove his innocence.
We're going to take the high road and respect both sides. And, luckily we won. We're able to go back and have jurisdiction in the circuit court over the petition for new testing. And, what I would say to anybody who believes that the West Memphis 3, who still believes that the West Memphis 3 committed this crime or Damian is some kind of depraved criminal, well, let's let the testing be done.
Something Echols and his team have been working on for years.
I agree. Let the testing be done. So that is the new update. It has been ruled that the testing will be allowed, but, I'm sure there's more legal red tape somewhere where they're going to contest that ruling somehow. Although it's a Supreme Court, so I don't know if you can contest it.
I think I read somewhere too that they're claiming that a piece of evidence is missing.
Yeah, I think I read that somewhere too.
I don't remember exactly what it was though. Maybe it was the semen that was found on the boy's underpants.
There is a channel that I have found that lists every single piece of evidence in this case. Nice. And if you guys are really interested in this, like I said, I'll do another one probably on a Wednesday or a Friday, and we can just go into all of the cases, all of the we can talk about the 3 victims. We can talk about the 3 men or teenagers, and then also talk about people that they think might have done it. There's a Facebook channel or Facebook group too that I just joined that has people that both believe he did it and both believe that they're innocent. So I need to go through it because there's like things in here that talk about like Damien and what his wife, they're grifting and stuff like that. And then there's other people that are on the channel that say like they sat next to him at an airport and he was the nicest guy. So, you know, that kind of deal.
If you do continue looking into this, can I join you?
Oh yeah, we can do it on a Sunday. I just didn't know if you were like interested or not. But
Well,
yeah,
I
we can do it on a Sunday and talk more about his magic because he has more books. And he just co-wrote a book with his wife. I would like to get into their love story because, you know, like prison, meeting somebody in prison, that's interesting, you know?
Yeah, very interesting, definitely. We can do it Sundays, or if you want to keep on your Wednesdays, I wouldn't mind making a guest appearance on a Wednesday.
Sure. Oh, Tara, we are sending our love, healing, and prayers for you. And yeah. You can recuperate with all our past lives and our videos and all the new stuff that we're going to be doing over on the Paraworld News. Let me get that up so that we can show the channel one more time before we go. And be sure to subscribe over there. This is the channel. Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern time, we will be over there talking paranormal goodness.
Yep, not necessarily this Thursday, right?
We're not ready yet.
No.
I think more towards somewhere in October expected. Yeah.
Cool. That's
we're mid-September now, or late September now, so yeah, somewhere October. Like
awesome. Perfect. That's my birthday.
Yeah.
I'll be
a Scorpio. Oops.
As well.
How old will you be?
50.
So you and Tara are, what do they say when people turn? I know it was dirty 30.
I know we're over the hill.
50. I think it's nifty 50. I don't
I like that
at all.
I like that a lot better than over the hill.
Yeah. Well, I thought over the hill was 30. Is it 50 now? That's over the hill.
I thought it was 50 because it's like halfway to 100.
Oh,
so
yeah,
you're at the
probably.
top of the hill.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I could be wrong.
Well, happy birthday, Tara. What does that make you a Virgo? Is it Virgo season right now? What is it right now? Sagittarius? No, Virgo and then Sagittarius after Scorpio. I think. I'm getting tired.
Libra. She's Libra.
Are we still Libra? Oh, okay.
Libra goes up until like the 20-something of October.
Okay.
So yeah, we'd be Libra right now. Because I'm not quite on the cusp. I think I'm like 4 or 5 days away from being on the cusp.
Yeah,
but
Libra's September 23rd to August 22nd. Oh my gosh. No, we're August. Libra is September 23rd to October 23rd. Leo was the season that we were just in.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. Because I'm an October Scorpio and you are a November Scorpio.
October Scorpios are just different. Where you guys are a little bit kinder, softer, gentler than November Scorpios.
I'm glad someone else says that because every time I say it, I think, am I making this up?
No, I'm a solid, heavy-duty Scorpio at November 6th. Just solid Scorpio.
Was Beverly the Gothic Gourmet? Was she November or October Scorpio? Because she was Scorpios too.
No, I think she was an Aquarius. The Christy was a Scorpio too.
Oh.
We had a person before Beverly. She was a psychic medium named Christy, and she was a Scorpio, I think. And I'm pretty sure that well, I know she was a Scorpio, and I think Beverly was an Aquarius person.
Okay.
Very, and I love Aquarians. I just get along really well with them because of I love the way they think and get stuff done. But
I just remember we were both, everyone was Scorpio, and my sister came along and was moderating the chat for a while, and she was a Taurus. And we told her we were going to make her an honorary Scorpio. And she said
maybe
no.
she was a Scorpio then. Maybe I'm wrong and she was a Scorpio.
And my sister said, no, I'm a Taurus. I'm bullheaded, and I'm not going to let you make me an honorary Scorpio.
We said, suck it. You're a Scorpio. Because we're Scorpios.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, you did. I'm the nice Scorpio because I'm October.
Yes, that's right. I said, suck it. You're a Scorpio. And I have this awful habit of renaming people too. Gosh.
Oh, goodness. Well, that was fun.
This is all I have for tonight. Do you have anything you want to add, Shannon?
No, I think I'm good for now. Just, maybe things I'm looking into for the first episode of the Paraworld News. Just gonna do a little teaser.
Okay.
Werewolf corpses.
Ooh. Werewolf corpses.
Yeah.
So would that be werewolf zombies?
No.
Or they're not animated. They're not alive.
No, they're not animated. Yeah.
Very intriguing. Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you for being here with me, Shannon. I had a fun time.
Yeah, I did too. This was great. Great idea to do this story. I can't wait to see what else we come up with.
Okay.
You
All
come
right,
up
Shannon. Well, I think we need to start it so that we both are coming up with it. And we're also going to start doing more. I want to do more guests. I want to do more interviews and collabs and stuff like that. So
yes. Awesome.
Yeah. Okay. All right, Shannon. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye, everyone.
Okay, guys, be sure to give this live a thumbs up. Helps us go out into the algorithm. Party out there. Bring our highly strange days people back to us. It's just a free way to help me out. And another good way to help us out is to share. Share. If you're in any groups, say, hey, this is West Memphis 3. We got some magic. We got some guilt. We got some justice. We got a story of Damian Echols. Just lay it on them for us. Okay, guys, thank you for being here. Thank you, Heavenly, for being our wrench, the hostess, the modest with the with the hostess with the mostest. So would it be the modest with the mostest? I don't know. But thank you so much. Thank you, Giselle, for being here. Molly, Tara, we're sending you our love, honey. We're sending you our love. And if I missed anybody else, I'm so sorry. But welcome and thank you for being here. If nobody has told you this today, and even if they have, I'm still going to tell you this because I feel it very deeply in my heart. You guys have helped me out through this Maybelline thing, just knowing I have you to come to. It's helped me keep my mind away from it. I lost my best friend in the world, and starting to have those panic attacks where it's like setting in, like it's really real. I think the shock is wearing off, and yeah, tons of stuff are setting in, but I knew I had you guys to come to today. And just like I knew I had you to come to, please know that you have us to come to. So if nobody's told you this today, I'm going to tell you this. I love you guys so, so much. and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys. Hi, guys. Welcome to Parawomenradio. I'm Amy.
Carefully strumming this old guitar, words rolling out into the fire. Never ask why my heart burned blue. Here in the haze where you inspire me. Here in the darkness I hear my cue. Time to find some solitude. Here where my soul bleeds openly, deep in the heart of sin and you. Here in the blue, I'm falling deep into you. Here in the blue, I'm dancing with you tonight, and it feels fine. Carefully strumming this old guitar again.